Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffery Combs.
Good afternoon, Jeffery Combs, breathing, releasing, and letting go on a very warm July afternoon. Welcome to Facebook Live, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time version. Topic for today's Facebook Live is emotional resilience. Being able to emotionally be resilient to these situations that are happening in your outer world while doing your best to breathe, release, and let go, while being in your inner world and being able to withstand the situations that are happening outside of you, while being able to not react to the stimulus, which is emotional resilience. And so you are addressing the emotional tolerance that creates anxiety, fear, and doubt. And that's what being able to experience the experience, feel the feeling, while being able to let go on command, so you are not the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. So if you follow the email, this comes out on every Monday. So this is the topic for today's Facebook Live. And then on Tuesdays, every Tuesday for years, I have sent that out with the content that I cover. So if you're following along today and you are also watching this on replay, either tomorrow or the next days or later this afternoon, topic number one is what you'll discover on today's training is that being and staying present is a key component. Right now, I have a contracting challenge going on in my house. I have an air conditioning unit that went out. It is over 100 degrees, and I'm being emotionally resilient and doing my best to be my best, while being able to release the heat that I feel in my house and being resilient while mastering the solution and having multiple contractors come give me bids, give me opportunities, learn more about the situation so I can live in the solution of it. And this is day to day. If you own a house, own a business, these are going to be the situations that you encounter one day at a time. And this is why letting go is a key skill, because it's easy to overwhelm yourself with the future that doesn't happen, how much it's going to cost. It's going to be so hot. And it's very easy to live in the problem, but as you learn to live in the solution and not give power to what hasn't happened, you're being and staying present. And by being present, you're able to focus on the solution, creating results, letting go of the future that hasn't happened, and being able to provide service and value to your customers, to your clients, your teammates, and your family, so that you are present rather than worrying, making up stories, overwhelming yourself with the future that hasn't happened. You are being and staying present, meaning you're right here and you're right now. It's who am I being right now? What is the solution to the situation I am facing? What is the outcome that is the most favorable? Rather than going into the worst case scenario, what's the most it's going to cost? I mean, you want to be able to look at the situation for what it is. Adapt and adjust. Stay flexible. Stay in a fluid, flexible body, in a relaxed body, rather than going rigid, getting angry, being upset at other people, blaming other people. Focus on the solution. That is the resolution to your problem, is being in the solution. Live in the solution rather than living in the problem. In the problem is where you'll continue to overwhelm yourself. And that's what creates the payoff. Recreate the same situation to fulfill the same set of feelings based on events that are unresolved. And then when you live in a, I don't know, I don't understand, this always happens to me set of circumstances, you are the problem in the problem. You are manufacturing more challenges that aren't necessary, rather than being able to create an outcome that is favorable, or the best outcome that you can possibly create, by letting the cards fall and being here and being now. And that emotional resilience will come from the repetition and experience of mastering the skill of letting go. So what you're virtually doing is you're learning how to transcend consciousness. At the bottom of consciousness down here is grief and apathy. And then right above that is rejection and abandonment. And so the emotions that affect us are grief, apathy, rejection, abandonment, overwhelmed feelings, anger, hate, resentment, rage, and pride. And those are the feelings that most of the world holds on to. Anger, hate, resentment, guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings, grief, apathy, and pride. That's the neurological network and neurons that wire and fire that form the feelings of anxiety, fear, and doubt. The bottom of the transcendence of consciousness is grief and apathy, and the top of that anxiety is the anger family. So energy is measured and calibrated in hertz or cycles per second. So when you are transmuting your feelings from anxiety, fear, and doubt, you're in a low vibrational energy, and you'll end up attracting to reality people and situations that will virtually match that energy. So if you're angry, your ego will find more ways to be angry, and then you end up in this place of I'm angry all the time, and then you can also become addicted to that anger family, which is frustration, disappointment, rage, hate, and especially resentment. And resenting yourself, resenting others, while continuing to live in low self-esteem. Now, when you become emotionally resilient, it means you're practicing emotional sobriety one day at a time. Well, what does that look like? It looks like an exercise routine, preferably early in the morning, to let go of some of the energy that is repressed. A prayer session, preferably early in the morning or later at night. This is up to you, but this is what it looks like for me. And the emotional resilience means that you learn in the skill of letting go, you're learning how to feel the feeling, and then as you feel the feeling, you're able to observe it without being it. So you're not being angry, you're not getting angry, you're able to observe the anger and on command separate yourself from it by a longer breath cycle, by breathing, releasing, and letting go. So that letting go becomes a skill set. It becomes a reflex to where you are always letting go. But if you don't master the skill of letting go, then you'll stay in the frustration, disappointment of life, and then you'll continue to edify that this always happens to me, which is commonly common for a large percent of society. When is it my turn? Well, if you have a high tolerance to anxiety, fear, and doubt, it seldom will be your turn because you'll have challenges letting go of the payoff. The payoff is recreate the same situation, fulfill the same set of feelings, create the same circumstances so you can be and stay disappointed, addicted to disappointed. What's the payoff of that? Avoiding success, avoiding peace, avoiding intimacy, avoiding connections, staying angry, staying isolated, staying holed up, staying alone, and then validating, justifying, explaining yourself to your lower self that this always happens to me. The courage to be able to change this behavior it's an amazing accomplishment if you will give yourself permission to step into that power of letting go. If you don't master the skill of letting go, well, that will relegate you to quietly tiptoeing through life so that you can arrive at the same set of circumstances called grave safely. And as you continue to hold on to these feelings, then you can continue to experience the experience. And that's what an emotional addiction is. Recreating the same set of circumstances, outcomes, recreating the same set of feelings that fulfills abandonment, it fulfills rejection, it fulfills grief and apathy. It means that when something happens in the outer world, your ego gravitates to it, latches onto it, and then finds a way to experience that feeling. When you're separate from the feeling, you're able to be the observer, not the participant, so you can watch what goes on behind the veil without being worried about the future. You can see the circumstances that happened Saturday and not go, oh my God. And you can see the circumstances and understand in higher consciousness the playing field. The truth doesn't set you free. The truth gives you the pieces of the chessboard. As you have a better understanding of how the moves are made, as you have a better understanding of the script of life, as you have a better understanding of trauma-based mind control, then you can step out of the matrix. But if you continue to stay stuck in this loop, this emotional loop of watching the news, being trauma-based mind controlled, eating the food that is not healthy for you, continuing to hold on to the feelings that keep you stuffing the weight, that keep you hitting the vape pipe, that keep you going to nicotine, to GMOs, trans fats, in the foods that give instant gratification, pornography, overwhelmed feelings, all the other situations that lead to low self-esteem. So when you live in the instant gratification for shame, blame, hurt, harm game, then you're going to ride the roller coaster. Instead of having emotional resilience, you'll create an emotional tolerance. So an emotional tolerance is you create such a high tolerance to being angry that you have to find ways to be angry. If you have an emotional tolerance to being rejected, then you'll find ways to be rejected. Your clients won't pay you on time. Your clients will disappear. The prospects will tell you they'll get back to you. And then your ego will hold them responsible for your feelings. And this is called the payoff. And until you understand that you actually derive pleasure from being a victim, it's challenging for most people. What do you mean I derive pleasure? It means exactly what it meant. That there's a certain level of gratification, satisfaction that an addict holds on to by saying, see, I knew it. This always happens to me. Well, the pleasure is worth the pain in that situation. When you reverse that equation in emotional resilience, the pleasure is no longer worth the pain. I explained that to one of my clients today who I'm watching him improve, and he's able to let go of the weight is beginning to release from his body because he's no longer feeding the feelings that he stuffs from the trauma he experienced in his childhood. I've been teaching him how to create the separation between the feelings and the events that shape them so that he is no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. And in that separation between the feelings and the events, then you are creating that separation in that space. You are now transcending consciousness. It means it's the elevated state above anxiety, fear, and doubt. The gateway to consciousness is called courage. Now, courage is not an emotion. It's a quality that you access when you require it to be able to address a situation. The courage to let go of a story, the courage to let go of a relationship, the courage to let go of a client, the courage to let go of a career, the courage to move to the other side of the country, the world, the city, whatever it is, whatever you require that courage, you begin to access it rather than accessing apathy and grief. So grief and apathy take you to the bottom of the scale of consciousness. It allows you to feel the victim of being victimized. It allows you to feel the loss and the whatever you've held on to sacred is no longer there. Apathy allows you to feel despondent, despair. It allows you to feel at rock bottom. When the pleasure isn't worth the pain, you can begin to address this. You will not address this until you have a better understanding of cause and effect and why you do what you do. When you live in the I don't understand, this doesn't make sense world, then you'll recreate the same situation to fulfill the same set of feelings. And I cover this right here on this content. So being and staying present, that's a skill set. It means you're focused on the solution. The solution is to be and stay emotionally sober today and to have a day of production in a relaxed body, so that no matter what the circumstances in the outer world, it has little to no effect on your inner world. So you can adapt and adjust to whatever's going on out there. Or if someone doesn't buy from you on one call, you can pick the phone up and make another call. Or you don't have bad days. There can be challenging moments, but the moments don't become bad days because you're being and staying present. You're in gratitude. You're able to breathe, release, and let go. You're able to surrender to God. You're able to surrender your will to be right. You're able to breathe, release, and let go. You're practicing the skill set of letting go on command so that letting go becomes a skill and you're always letting go so that your day isn't ruined. Your day isn't shot. And it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You finish the day in higher consciousness. You go to bed in prayer and gratitude, and then the soul rests rather than the soul tosses and turns. As you begin to master these emotional skills, you will put back-to-back days of production. And that's what creates the emotional resilience. You're separating your feelings from anxiety, fear, and doubt, living in higher consciousness, which is awareness. It's an understanding. It's knowing. It's being in love. It's being in joy. It's accessing bliss. It's being in prosperity. It's being of service. It's adding value to your life and other people's lives. Rather than feeling less than, you're beginning to feel good enough. And it is an evolution. It can happen quickly or it can never happen. Because it really comes down to this. Is the pain great enough? Do I understand why I do what I do? Am I committed to the process of change? Am I done with my story? Am I so done with this? I mean, when you step into that power, then once again, you are not the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. Events that we experience as children, teenagers, form what is called our personal reality, also known as personality. So our personal reality becomes a story. It becomes an identity. It becomes who we are. Wrong side of the tracks. I'm not good with money. I'm not good with relationships. By the time you're 18, you've had 20,000 meals with people in your circle of influence, at the lunch table, at the school table, in the school cafeteria, at camp, and all these other situations. So by the time you're 18, a lot of your feelings are anchored in these events that have shaped your life. From where you are today, you can virtually change some of these feelings by practicing the skill of letting go. Letting go is a very misunderstood skill. Very few people ever practice the application of it. It's just, most people just blow over the top of it. They can read David Hawkins' book on letting go, my book called The Breakthrough Factor, but that's the content, but it's the context. That means the application. But if you don't understand it, if you're in the analytical egoic mind, if you can't figure it out, if you live solely in your left brain trying to make sense of situations, then you're not accessing your limbic brain where you require both hemispheres of your brain to come together. So that's what opens the pineal gland. The pineal gland is consciousness. That is access to source, to God, to higher power. That is where you can communicate with God, forgive. My wife and I were praying earlier today for the absolute ideal solution to a challenge. Instead of going worst case scenario, what's it going to cost? Oh my God. Rather than going into fight or flight, panic patterns, brain fog, which is what most people do, we live in the solution. So can you. It's a skill set you can master one day at a time over a long lifetime. My name is Jeffery Combs, president and founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. It's so good to see some familiar faces. If I haven't seen you for a long time on Facebook Live today, thank you very much. It's my absolute privilege and honor to see some of you show up here today for Emotional Resilience. I'm going to go hit the record button, and if you'd like to rewatch this or send it to someone in your circle of influence, I would be honored for you to do that. If you are a former coaching client and you would like to speak to me about one-on-one coaching, I would be honored. Or if you're new watching my content, feel free to reach out to me for a free 20-minute coaching call. Thank you very much for everyone being here. Deep, deep appreciation for those of you here today. I'm deeply honored to be able to share quality time with you. Breathe, release, and let go. Challenging times. Have a great day, everyone.